probably heard that phrase, right? There is no alternative. It gets thrown around a lot, and it's basically a conversation stopper whenever you talk about moving past capitalism. But what if that's just not true? What if there are these really powerful, deeply thought out alternatives that are just waiting to be explored? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're diving headfirst into one of these incredible visions, the well-living paradigm, which is the amazing work of sociologist and political economist Dr. S.A. Hamid Hosseini. This quote from Robert F. Kennedy, wow. It's from 1968, and it absolutely hits the nail on the head of a problem we are still wrestling with today. Think about it. Our main measure of success as a society, the GDP, it's just fundamentally broken. It literally counts things like oil spills and building new prisons as economic pluses, but it completely ignores the things that actually matter. The health of our kids, the quality of our relationships, the beauty of the world around us. Kennedy was right. It measures everything except the things that make life worth living. And that, right there, is the perfect starting point for why we need to rethink everything. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Hold on, people are talking about this. What about all the beyond GDP stuff, or this huge focus on well-being? And you're totally right. Those conversations are happening, and they're a good first step. But here's where Dr. Hosseini's work gets really interesting. He argues that even with the best intentions, these movements often don't go far enough. In fact, he suggests they might even be accidentally propping up the very system they're trying to fix. And this slide really breaks it down. On one side, you have this popular idea of well-being. It's all about individual happiness, mindfulness apps, maybe some slightly better government policies. It's all about making small changes within the system we already have. But Dr. Hosseini's critique is sharp. He says this approach actually takes the politics out of the problem. It ignores the root causes of our stress, our anxiety, our burnout, which are baked into the system itself. It kind of, shifts the blame onto us. Like, if you're unhappy, maybe it's your bad choices, not a fundamentally flawed system. It fails to challenge the system at its core. And what you end up with is this giant paradox. The very system that creates so much anxiety and inequality then creates this massive, multi-billion-dollar well-being industry to sell us the solution. It's wild. It tells us to download a meditation app or buy a self-help book to cope with a system that is, at its heart, completely uncaring. We're essentially being sold individual cures for a collective disease. Okay, so if well-being has been kinda co-opted and turned into a product, where do we go? Well, this is the exciting part. We're gonna shift from taking apart the old model to actually building a new one. So let's get into Dr. Hosseini's powerful alternative, the concept of well-living. So what is the well-living paradigm? It's something totally different. It draws inspiration from indigenous worldviews and grassroots movements all over the globe to completely rethink what a good life even means. And its core belief is so simple but so profound. Life itself is a commons of utmost value. Now that's not just a nice sounding phrase, it's a radical idea. It means that life, not just human life, but all life, is not a resource to be bought, sold, and exploited for profit. It's a shared treasure that belongs to all of us, and that we have a collective duty to take care of. So how does this beautiful idea actually work? How do you build a society on it? Well, the whole paradigm is built on 4 foundational pillars, and it's really important to see them as interconnected. They're not separate checklist items. They work together to create a whole new way of living. Let's walk through these. First up is livability. This is about deep harmony with the entire web of life. It's about finally understanding that we are part of nature, not its master, and we have to respect the planet's limits. Next, creativity. And this isn't about being an artist. It redefines creativity as our collective power to meet our needs by working together through cooperation and commoning, managing our resources as a community. Third, we have conviviality. This is the social glue. It's all about building solidarity, real equity, and just learning to live well together in a way that celebrates our differences. And finally, alterity. This is the pillar of liberation. It's the fundamental right of every single person in every community to have the power to shape their own future, free from domination and control. Okay, so let's imagine we actually build a society on those 4 pillars: livability, creativity, conviviality, and alterity. What does that world actually feel like? What kind of values and qualities just naturally start to bubble up to the surface? Well, this is what emerges. Harmony with nature isn't some niche hobby. It's just how society operates. Solidarity isn't just a word on a banner, it's the bedrock of how we relate to each other. Liberation isn't a far-off fantasy. It's the actual goal of our institutions. And maybe most importantly, authenticity becomes possible. The ability to live a real, genuine life, free from that feeling of alienation from our jobs, from each other, and from the planet itself. All right, now we get to the part that is, for me, the most exciting. This isn't just a utopian dream, it's a practical theory of change. Dr. Hosseini lays out a detailed blueprint for how we can take these principles and use them to transform our core institutions. This is the praxis. This is how we put well-living into action. First, let's look at the economy. And this is a total redesign. Instead of private corporations owning everything for profit, essential resources, think water, energy, land, are managed as a commons for the benefit of everyone. The economy is rebuilt around things like worker cooperatives. That relentless obsession with endless growth, it's replaced by degrowth principles. So we focus on what we actually need, not just endless expansion. And the big decisions about what we make and how we make it, they're made democratically by the people and communities involved, not by some CEO in a skyscraper. Okay, now politics. Here, the idea is to completely decentralize power. We shift it away from these huge, faraway governments and bring it back down to the grassroots level. Real decisions get made locally, in community assemblies. Top-down, hierarchical control gives way to cooperation. And, this is key, the health of the planet becomes the #1 priority in every single policy decision, with strong protections to make sure power can never again be hoarded by a small few. And this transformation touches every part of our social world. Education would be completely different, focused on creating empathetic, critical thinkers who understand their place in the ecosystem, not just cogs for a machine. Our media would be owned by communities, free from corporate spin. The justice system would shift from punishment to restoration, focusing on healing harm, not just inflicting it. And of course, the basics, housing, food, healthcare, they'd be guaranteed as human rights. And all that vital care work that holds our society together, it's finally seen, valued, and shared. So you see, when you put all these pieces together, the economic changes, the political changes, the social changes, you realize they aren't just separate ideas. They interlock. They support each other to create a completely coherent alternative system. A society that is fundamentally designed not for endless profit and growth, but for the flourishing of all life. And that brings us to the final powerful question that this whole paradigm leaves us with. It's both a challenge and an invitation. Dr. Hosseini's work gives us a map, a possible path forward. But the journey itself, that takes all of us. So if we truly believe that life is a shared commons, not a private commodity, what is our role? What is your role in reclaiming it?